Hello, this is my review for Star Wars Episode 4, Star Wars A New Hope from 1977. I've decided I'm not going to do this review for a Star Wars film with notes and my thoughts written down. I'm just going to try and go off the cuff because I don't want to talk about too much, even though there's plenty I could say, and I'm probably going to do another review about Star Wars Episode 4 at some point down the line because it's one of the most iconic films, arguably the most iconic film ever made. You could argue that. I'm going to start just at the start of the film with the giant Star Destroyer chasing the ship that Leia Organa's on. I think that was just a great opening. The shot of the ship, how the size comparison between the tiny ship being chased by this huge Star Destroyer, the way that it was filmed with a camera, the way that they managed to capture the huge difference, just giving off the sense of the underdog versus the big power, the tiny rebel ship versus the Empire Star Destroyer. I feel like that's an example. That was a great use of size comparison that George Lucas made it feel. They managed to, just without saying anything, they managed to showcase that the rebels are the underdog in just a one shot. That was fantastic. We'll of course get the encounter between the rebels and the stormtroopers. Then we get Darth Vader appearing, one of the most iconic villains ever made, arguably the most iconic villain. Then we of course have Leia putting the plans into the Death Star, into R2-D2. They go on to Tatooine. They manage to end up in the hands of Luke. Luke then takes off the restraining bolt on R2-D2. R2-D2 makes a run for it because he wants to show Obi-Wan Kenobi the hologram to bring Obi-Wan Kenobi over to Alderaan to get the messages to the rebellion. That was everything's just brilliant in my opinion. It's a film I've watched possibly over 150 times actually. I'm trying to think how many times I've watched this. I'd probably say it's over 150. One of the other big positives is the character of Luke Skywalker. I would say he's definitely one of the big positives. Han Solo, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Alec Guinness. The brief encounter with Greedo. We get to see the escape from Tatooine. We get to see Chewbacca. We get to see R2-D2, C-3PO, great characters. These are all fantastic characters in their own right. Then we of course have the planet. We have the approach to Alderaan, and then we see the Death Star. We see Leia getting tortured previously, but now we get a new form of torture when they destroy the home planet of Alderaan. Darth Vader has that moment with her. He, of course, has his other iconic line. He has many iconic lines throughout the film when he says, "I find your lack of faith disturbing." Then he has the interaction with Leia. Well, Grand Moff Tarkin has the interaction with Leia and says, "We've chosen to test the destructive power of this weapon on your home planet of Alderaan." And then she tells them the rebels are on Dantooine, but then she brilliantly knows that they're lying. They're not going to spare Alderaan, so she gives them the wrong planet, which was a genius move on the part of Leia, in my opinion. Alderaan gets destroyed, and then Han and Luke and Obi-Wan Kenobi arrive. They see what the remains of Alderaan, then they get captured by the Death Star, and then they plot a rescue. Obi-Wan Kenobi turns off the laser. Han and Luke rescue Leia, manage to escape from the Death Star. We have the TIE Fighter chase scene, great music by John Williams, many great pieces of music by John Williams. And then we'll have them approach Yavin 4. I forgot the name of the planet there for a second. Yavin 4. They then get all the rebels together. Leia's saying, "We have no time for our sorrows. We need to plan our offensive," because she knew on some level they were tracking them. Han Solo at first was just there to get paid to leave because he needs to pay off a few debts. But then, of course, there's this heroic triumph at the end in which he manages to save Luke. Luke has that iconic moment where, he's training to become a Jedi. You see him with his lightsaber. Obi-Wan Kenobi says, "Use the Force, Luke." And then he manages to blow up the Death Star. Everything in this film, in my opinion, is fantastic. I would say this is one of the greatest films ever made. This is just my brief thoughts. I've decided, as I've already said, I'm not going to write down everything positive. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this film. I want to try and keep it brief. I've watched this film so many times that I can see myself watching it again and again and again. It's a spoiler review, of course. The ending, of course, with Han, Luke, and Chewbacca being given medals in the iconic shot of them walking up towards the podium where Leia presents them with the medals, the Medal of Freedom. Darth Vader just managing to survive, Grand Moff Tarkin dying. This film is just absolutely fantastic. I think I'm going to end it there. I might do another review at some point and talk even in further detail about how great this film is, but I want to keep it brief. Thanks for watching. This is my review for Star Wars Episode 4. I'm going to end it there.